You stupid fool. Did you really think you gonna hit me? Huh? Bam, bam, bam. Over.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Man, oh man. It seems like Canelo Alvarez is always taking one step forward and two steps back. The crazy thing is, you know what, before I get deeper into it, let's go ahead and get into the news. Now, this is not breaking news. Most of you guys have already heard this story, but I'm just giving you guys my breakdown on it. And I want you guys to understand the damage that is going to be done to Canelo Alvarez's reputation. You know, the crazy thing is, I've been telling you guys on all these Canelo videos that I thought Canelo Alvarez was going to fight Demetrius Andrade eventually. Whenever I compare Canelo to Golovkin, I would always say the difference is Golovkin, while he'll never fight these dangerous fighters like Charlo or Andrade, Canelo, he'll avoid them for a while and then eventually he will fight them. So it turns out I was giving Canelo Alvarez more credit than he actually deserved. Because today I stand corrected by Canelo himself, because he just made it very clear he has no intentions of getting in the ring with Demetrius Andrade. So it's official that Canelo Alvarez has completely waved the white flag to Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo. Let's not forget, Canelo Alvarez, he actually gave his belt up. He gave his belt to Jermall Charlo to avoid him. That's right. He vacated his WBC belt to avoid Jermall Charlo. And because Canelo is buddies with president of the WBC, Mauricio Solomon, he created this trophy belt to basically try to help Canelo Alvarez save face. In other words, it was somewhat of a distraction. Have you look the other way while Canelo Alvarez vacates and gives up his belt. So Canelo Alvarez just recently said that Demetrius Andrade is a boring fighter. He wants someone that's going to present a challenge, basically saying that Andrade would not present a challenge to him, and every time he's involved in a boring fight, he gets blamed for it. Now, coincidentally, this is pretty much the same excuse Team Canelo used for not fighting Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders had a very impressive win over David Lemieux. Team Canelo, they said right after the fight that BJ Saunders, his style was boring, and fans don't want to see us in the ring with an opponent like that. All right, so now let me go ahead and give you the translation. So basically what Canelo Alvarez is saying is anyone who may end up beating him, that's boring, because Canelo Alvarez fans don't want to see Canelo lose. That's not fun. It's only fun when Canelo is winning. It's only fun when it's a guaranteed win for Canelo. Losing is depressing. We all know that, right? When you're watching your favorite basketball team or your favorite football team and you know they're down and there's no way they're going to come back and win. Have you ever turned the channel because it's a foregone conclusion? Because you don't want to watch that. You don't want to watch if your team is losing and you know they're not going to win, right? It's no longer entertaining. It's boring now. But it's fun. It's real fun when your team is winning, or at least it's going back and forth, right? I'm telling you guys right now, this is a modern day Black Murderer's Row. Once again, for those of you guys that have never heard of the Black Murderer's Row, just Google it. Google it and read on these fighters. This was a group of fighters in about the 1940s, the 50s. It was a group of black fighters that was extremely skillful. They had all of the other fighters shook. All of the bigger names, they would avoid these fighters. So what the Black Murderers Row had to do is they had to fight against each other. They created a tournament and they would have to fight against each other over and over and over again because these other names were scared to death to get in the ring with them. We're seeing a modern day Black Murderers Row today. Now, of course, as soon as I say that, there's going to be a Canelo Alvarez fan that's going to say, well, hey, that's Jacobs. And I'm glad you brought that up. I want to ask you guys something. What does Danny Jacobs and Sergey Kovalev have in common? You give up? Both fighters had 2 losses on their record and had both been knocked out when Canelo was about to fight them. Now, what does Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade have in common? They're both undefeated. Remember, Canelo Alvarez, he used the same excuse why he didn't want to fight BJ Saunders and Demetrius. What do those two fighters have in common? They're both southpaws. They're both southpaws. Who gave Canelo Alvarez the most problems outside of Floyd Mayweather? It was Erislandy Lara, a southpaw. A lot of people believe that Erislandy Lara, he beat Canelo Alvarez. And once again, since you Canelo Alvarez fans love to compare everything that Canelo does to Floyd Mayweather, unlike Floyd Mayweather giving Castillo and Maidana a rematch, Canelo didn't give Erislandy Lara a rematch. And if you look at Demetrius Andrade in particular, and I've told you guys this before, see, Canelo Alvarez, he may say stupid things to try to defend or try to justify not fighting and not unifying the belts at the middleweight division. He may say stupid things, but Canelo is far from stupid. Canelo is smart enough, he understands how dangerous of an opponent Demetrius Andrade is. Think about this. If Canelo struggled against Erislandy Lara, who moved around the ring from a southpaw stance and fights on his back foot and really just relies on landing his left hand, can you imagine the problems he would have with a 6'2" or 6'3" Demetrius Andrade who can move around the ring, but he can fight on the inside and the outside. And he's just as elusive and slick as a Floyd Mayweather. So Canelo ain't stupid. Canelo understands. But it sounds ridiculous when he tries to make these type of decaf excuses. Clearly you could tell a lot of the fans, they starting to get in Canelo's ears and they're starting to say the type of stuff that we always see on the internet from a Canelo Alvarez fan. Canelo Alvarez, he says he wants someone that's going to present a challenge, but he fights Rocky Fielding, who had just previously got knocked out in the first round before he fought Canelo Alvarez. See, I noticed a pattern. A lot of Canelo Alvarez's opponents, they had been knocked out before they got in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. In fact, almost all of them. Which brings me back to Danny Jacobs. It didn't surprise me when Canelo decided to fight against Danny Jacobs because he was looked at, and I said this in my previous videos, he was looked at as the weakest link out of all of the middleweights when it comes to Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, because once again, he had already been knocked out before. He already had a loss. And I told you guys in my post-fight video I did for the Danny Jacobs versus Darren Yevchenko fight, I said in that video, I would not be surprised if Canelo is now willing to fight Danny Jacobs. And he ended up fighting against Danny Jacobs next after that. And Canelo Alvarez fans, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what you guys post. The more Canelo Alvarez makes himself look bad, the more I'm going to keep reporting on it and exposing it. This makes Canelo look horrible. There's no way you can even call Canelo Alvarez the best middleweight in the world. I mean, Canelo fans, you can say whatever you want in the comment section. I don't take that serious because they're going to say that by default. I'm talking about real boxing fans. I'm talking about real boxing fans that's not basing this off of emotion and pride and race and all that kind of stuff. Canelo Alvarez, you know what he just did? Canelo Alvarez, he just crowned Demetrius Andrade as the king at the middleweight division. That's what he just did. Canelo just got on his knees and he just handed the crown over to Demetrius Andrade. That was the translation. You know, in the history of war, when a country is invaded, the majority of times, obviously, the country, they will defend their country, right? But there's been a couple times where countries just gave up the land to avoid a war, to avoid bloodshed. And that's exactly what Canelo Alvarez has done. He gave up the land to Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo. You know, I got way more to say about this, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. We're gonna talk more about this on a radio show. The radio show will be back next Sunday. I'll go ahead and give you guys a time later on, but it'll be sometime around 6 or 7 Pacific Standard Time. Phone lines will be open. I'm looking forward to talking to some of you Canelo Alvarez fans so you can explain all of this. Go ahead and make your comparisons. Go ahead and compare Canelo to Mayweather like you like to do. I'm telling you guys, though, right now, man, you're walking into a trap when you do that. And I won't even say it's a trap because this is what they like to do. You guys are making things worse when you try to compare Floyd Mayweather or try to compare Canelo Alvarez to Floyd Mayweather. Because if you compare the 28-year-old Floyd to the 28, you know what? I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for the show. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.